بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم ربنا لك الحمد والشكر كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك منك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We saw last week how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to Ta'if with Zayd bin Haritha radiyallahu anhu, and they walked on foot 60 miles almost to Ta'if, hoping that the people of Ta'if would at least give him a hearing, at least they would listen to his da'wah. And you heard how Ta'if, or that Ta'if is a strategic location. It was the masyaf, it was the holiday destination for many of the rich Qurayshis. They used to go and in the summer they would go there to try to have a break, so to speak. But also economically and geographically it was strategic. And Rasulullah ﷺ went and instead of giving him a hearing, instead of listening to his da'wah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they even denied him the basic hospitality of the Arabs. And instead of just refusing him verbally, they mocked him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They forcibly kicked him out of Ta'if. They pelted him with stones alayhi salatu wassalam. Zayd said, I try to protect Rasulullah as much as I can, but how can you when there are so many people throwing rocks at you? Until he came to a ha'it meaning a garden or a farm, to Utbah bin Rabi'a and Shayba bin Rabi'a. They weren't Muslims, they were mushrikeen. And as you know, he fainted there alayhi salatu wassalam. And of course Allah Ta'ala can see all of this, and Allah Ta'ala knows what is happening, and Allah Ta'ala can stop it if He wills. And He sent him, when he recovered, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he woke up, Allah Ta'ala sent him an angel that was responsible. That was the first time this angel in fact came to the earth. And it's interesting that the angel gave him a choice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He decides to destroy a nation, He gives a lot of time before He destroys them. And if you read the narratives in the Quran, you see that to be true. So much so. When Allah Ta'ala sent the malaika in the form of men, Mikael, Jibreel and Israfil, to go and destroy the people of Lut, they passed first by the house of Ibrahim alayhi salam, because Lut is the cousin of Ibrahim. They passed by the house of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the form of men. He did not recognize them initially. And when he offered them food, as was the nature of Ibrahim alayhi salam, they said he was the first person to entertain a guest. And when he offered them food and saw that they weren't eating, not only they weren't eating, their hands weren't even reaching for the food. And that was an omen, that was a bad sign when you have a guest and they don't eat. And in fact, I know at the very least in the Arab culture today, that is true, that remains the case. You know, if somebody comes to you as a guest and you offer them food or you offer them drink and they don't take it, they don't eat, it means something is not right. Sahih? Something is not right. And of course, when Ibrahim alayhi salam inquired from them, they said, we are not men, we are the angels, we are coming to destroy the people of Lut. Because Allah had made that decision already. Lut, he gave him so much da'wah, and they refused. Then Allah Ta'ala made that decision. Now he's sending the messengers just to inform Lut. Now what does Ibrahim alayhi salam do? He tries to intercede for the people of Lut. He actually tries to intercede. كان يشفع لقوم لوط. And Allah, the Malaika said to him, it is a matter that is done. And in order to justify Ibrahim's intercession for the people of Lut, Allah Ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ كَانَ أَوَّاهًا حَلِيمًا. Ibrahim was awwah. Awwah is a man full of sigh, deep sorrow or deep concern rather for people. He was awwah. He had a deep-seated concern for people, including those people of Lut. Halim, and he was forbearant. But then they said, your intercession is not accepted, O Ibrahim, because it's a matter decreed, decided. In the case of Rasulullah, it was not decreed that they are to be destroyed yet, the people of Taif. Hence the choice. Would you want, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or rather, you make the command, give us the command to the angels surrounding the two mountains of Mecca, and they would collapse them on the people of Mecca. And you saw and heard how Rasulullah responded to that. And he turned to Allah Azza wa Jal, complaining to Allah, Allahumma inni ashku ilayka da'fa quwwati wa qillata hilati wa hawani ala an-nas. Oh Allah, I complain to thee of my own weaknesses and my own shortcomings and my low estimation in the eyes of people. But that doesn't matter, Ya Allah, as long as you are pleased with me. As long as you are pleased with me, that doesn't matter. And then he said, instead of having the mountains collapse on them, I would rather, or rather I would hope that somebody, if not now, then somebody from their offsprings may accept Islam, inshallah. Now, not only is this story indicative of the rahmah and the shafaqah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mercy, the immense mercy and compassion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but I think it tells us something else about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or about anybody who has a purpose. You see, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a determined purpose, and his purpose wasn't the destruction of people. His purpose was hidayah for people. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah tells us that in the Quran. We have sent you for no other reason except as a rahmah for the worlds, the humans and the jinn and the animals and the environment and so forth. He was sent as a rahmah. He himself said, alayhi salatu wasalam, مَا أُرْسِلْتُ لَعَّانًا إِنَّمَا أُرْسِلْتُ رَحْمَةً مُهْدَى. I wasn't sent to curse, but I was sent as a guided mercy. Therefore, his purpose determined his actions. The purpose was how people can get hidayat. And if this is the ultimate and noble purpose, then he was willing to forego his rights, even if it meant when he was severely persecuted or when he was severely beaten by those people. And that's actually quite fascinating, because if you look at us nowadays, sometimes families have disputes among themselves and they hold onto this rage and anger and nobody wants to let go. And this is family, and sometimes it's the most stupid of reasons for why they fight, and why some people are willing to carry anger and rage in their hearts for years. That tells me these are people who have no purpose. If the purpose is sublime and noble, i.e. the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, and how you can be a da'i in this dunya, how you can be a source of guidance, then you would be willing to give up your rights as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did, and not hold grudges in the heart. It's not worth it. They say the one who holds a grudge against others harms himself first and foremost. Like the one who has envy and hasad or jealousy the first victim of jealousy is the envier himself or herself, because it consumes him from inside. And that's why Rasulullah says, hasad or envy consumes good deeds like fire consumes dry grass. Now when this happened, and he chose alayhi salatu salam, the better of two options, as was his sunnah throughout his life, was always to choose the better of two options. A number of things happened consequently. Later on, of course, down the track, we said how Muhammad ibn al-Qasim was the person to emerge from the people of Ta'if. He was to be the young man of 17 years old to take the army to the Hind and Sindh. He brought Islam in the year 711. He was the dua and the concern of Rasulullah. And that's why the ulama say, when you are involved in da'wah, as we should all be, especially in a place like Australia, this is our maqsad here, this is our purpose, da'wah ila Allah. Then all that is asked of you is to make the effort sincerely, but the results are up to Allah Ta'ala. You may do effort of da'wah for the next 20, 30 years and not a single person will accept Islam. But it's their offsprings and their progeny might, because of the effort that you have made. The other thing that's happened, and the next two incidents that happened subsequent to the Ta'if were an indication that Allah Ta'ala is looking after Rasulullah Sallallahu. And they were a very clear sign from Allah Ta'ala that he was not abandoned, alayhi salatu wassalam, and that even if those people for whom you went, O Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, i.e. the people of Ta'if, you were hoping that they would accept Islam, but they refused it. And they kicked you out of Ta'if, but then you weren't aware, O Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that your effort may bear fruit somewhere else. And that's exactly what happened. When he fainted by the farm of Utbah and Shayba, Utbah bin Rabi'a and Shayba bin Rabi'a, who were mushrik, they had a Christian slave by the name of Addas. And they had some pity in their heart towards this stranger who is bleeding and who's sitting outside the farm in despair. So they said to Addas, go to this man and give him some grapes. They had vineyards. So he put a bunch of grapes in a bowl and went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and put it before his hand. Rasulullah Sallallahu looked at this man, and before he ate, he took a grape and then he said, Bismillah. That drew the attention of Addas, and he said, Bismillah. I don't hear people around here say Bismillah. Rasulullah said, where are you from? He said, from Nainawa in Iraq. He's dying from Nainawa. Rasulullah says, from the place of my brother Yunus, alayhi salam. Addas said, and how do you know Yunus? He said, he's my brother, and he was a prophet like I am. At that point, Addas fell on the feet of Rasulullah, kissing his feet, kissing his forehead, kissing his hand, and he says, Wallahi, you are a Nabi. The owners, quote unquote, the owners of Addas, Utbah and Shayba bin Rabi'a, were watching, and they were saying to each other, he's lost his mind, meaning Addas. What's he doing? What's he doing with this stranger kissing his feet? Right? And it is said later on, when the mushrikeen fought Rasulullah ﷺ, and both Shayba and Rabi'a were against Rasulullah ﷺ, they were fighting against him. They demanded of Addas to stand with them, fight against Rasulullah ﷺ, and he refused. He said, Wallahi, I will not fight against a man who's a Nabi. This story tells us a number of things. One, the barakah of the Sunnah. when you display the Sunnah, it has a barakah to it and a beautiful attraction. And you may not pay attention to that because you're used to saying, for example, before you're eating, Bismillah. But somebody who's not familiar, who sees you follow the beautiful Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ in the way you eat, in the way you speak, in the way you walk, in the way you talk, in the way you conduct yourself, you have no idea the power and the impact of that on the hearts of people. Absolutely. So looking at this story, some ulama said, the barakah of the Sunnah of Rasulullah by simply saying Bismillah drew the attention of this man. And that's why they say you should never feel ashamed of showing who you are as a Muslim. Never feel ashamed. Because on the surface, especially in climax of Islamophobia and racism, particularly after 9/11, it seems that if we were to show our Islam openly, that might bring harm to us. Now, in some cases, that did bring harm, and it may continue to bring harm, but what we weren't aware of that equally happened because of continuing to show our Islam is the many people who actually came into Islam. It is said after 9/11, the number of converts to Islam quadrupled in the USA, and I don't know what the percentage in Australia, but I recall when I was in Queensland, almost every week, during that tense period, every week almost in every masjid, one person would walk in to become a Muslim. The unforeseen circumstances, or consequences rather, that you and I are not aware of, but Allah Ta'ala is. What we are only asked to do is be straight on the deen. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Those who say Allah is our Rabb and they are steadfast on that. I was in our masjid in Brisbane before moving here, and it was I can't recall it was Dhuhr or Asr or after Dhuhr or Asr, a young Australian man walks in. He comes out of the blue, so to speak. He would have been about 20. He said, "Hi, how you going?" I said, "Good." He said, "Is this the mosque?" I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "I'm interested to know about Islam." I said, "Of course, come inside." And I sat with him for an hour. I asked him, "What makes you interested in Islam?" That was my first question. He said, "A dream that I had." I said, "What dream?" He said, "I have been searching for a while, because people without deen are empty. There is a massive vacuum in people's hearts, and the only thing that can fill it is Islam. And the only people who have Islam is you and I. A gift, a mighty gift that we haven't, one, appreciated, second, we haven't shared." He said, "I saw a dream." I said, "What dream?" He said, "In my dream I saw my mother. And in front of me I saw a church, a synagogue and a mosque." He said, "And I've never been to a mosque or a synagogue." He's been to church before. And he said, "I wanted to go to any of them, but I was confused. So I asked my mother, to which of those should I go?" And she pointed to the mosque. And he said, "As soon as I woke up, I looked for the mosque nearest to me. And here I am." You just never know. What the story of Taif tells us, despite the difficulties and hardships that one may undergo because of standing firm on one's deen and inviting to Allah Ta'ala, know there is always khair in that. Know there is always goodness in that. And I have often said to my sisters who, mashallah, wear the hijab openly in public, that they are very brave people, very brave women, because despite all the rhetoric and the Islamophobia and the racism and the distortion of Islam and the misrepresentation of Islam, they continue to walk with this dignity, wearing the hijab. And though seemingly on the surface it may be harmful to them, but Allah Ta'ala always makes it good for them. All they have to do is just have that more sabr and more perseverance. And turn to Allah when things get very hard, like Rasulullah ﷺ. He turned to Allah. Allahumma inni ashku ilayka da'fa quwwati. Oh Allah, I complain to you of my weaknesses. And he didn't have this anger in him towards people. I mean, can you imagine honestly, if it was you who was, forget being pelted by hundreds of rocks, if one of your relatives pelts you with one rock, you'd probably want to kill them. Forgive and let go. Move on. We have more important things in life. We have more important things. We have a sublime, lofty aim to be a da'i, to invite people to Allah Ta'ala. And with that, the harm will come. Harm will come. And know that with that which seems harmful, Allah Ta'ala can always bring khair from it. And that which may seem beneficial, Allah Ta'ala can bring so much harm from it. And the proof of that is the story of Musa alayhi salam with his staff. Allah said, what is in your right hand? He said, it is my staff. I lean on it and I use it to herd my sheep. And I have many other benefits from it. وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى. And I have many other benefits. Allah said, really? Is that so? You enumerated all these benefits? Well, then throw it. I just told you it's very beneficial, and you asked me to throw it. He threw it, and it became a very harmful thing. That which was in his mind beneficial, Allah Ta'ala can make it harmful. Throw it, and it became a snake. Grab it again. He was frightened. He said, don't be frightened, catch it. Grab it, and he did, and it turned into a staff. Is it a snake or is it a staff? It's the amr of Allah. It's the order of Allah. What Allah wants it to be, it will be. If you think wearing the hijab in public is going to be harmful, know that Allah Ta'ala can turn that into beneficial. If you think that standing as a Muslim, standing upright in this country by being honest and truthful and noble and honorable is going to bring harm, not at all. Allah Ta'ala will always bring good for those who do good. The second thing that happened, and now remember Rasulullah sallam, he was in a bit of a predicament after Taif. He was in a bit of a difficult situation. Why? The reason he left Mecca was what? Why did he leave Mecca and go to Taif? Because he felt all the doors closed on him in Mecca. And he wanted another opportunity. Now all the doors of Taif are closed. He's in a difficult situation because how can he go back to Mecca now? Alayhi salatu wassalam. If he goes to Mecca again, he has an option to go to Mecca and feel belittled, humiliated. He's never humiliated, of course, in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal, but that's what they may think, and defeated. And they may take that against him. They may use that against him because they feel he is weaker even than when he left Mecca sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a choice of either not going back to Mecca, that is, continue to be in migration until he finds a place, or he can go to Mecca without planning the return to Mecca and may face difficulties. And so what Rasulullah ﷺ did, again following the sunnah that he has taught us again and again, that you take all the necessary means, he sent a message to Mecca to see if somebody can give him jiwar. Jiwar yani protection. The Arabs had a concept that because there were different tribes, and each tribe, especially the more influential tribes, if you had done something wrong and you are fearing to go back to Mecca, you could find somebody who can give you protection. And if they accept to give you protection, they would go out and announce that I have given protection to so and so, nobody touch them. And if you do, your fight is with me. This is called jiwar. But Rasulullah ﷺ needed to find a jiwar or protection from somebody or some tribe that can actually offer him protection. And in doing so, he demonstrated his political astuteness. his political intelligence, and his strategic planning, that you just don't throw yourself in the deep end and expect that everything is going to go well. You take as much of the necessary measures as possible. And he knew, because Rasulullah knew the tribes, and he knew who is strong and who is not, and he strategically therefore chose the protection from a man called Tufail bin Uday. Tufail was from the tribe of Khuza'a. And historically, Khuza'a had always been enemies with Quraysh, the tribe of Quraysh. And it was the tribe of Quraysh in this case which were after Rasulullah sallallahu. They were angry with him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So by securing protection, before going back to Mecca, he secured protection from Tufail bin Uday, who said to Rasulullah sallallahu, yes, we will give you protection. And the minute Rasulullah sallallahu heard that, he made his way back to Mecca, but on his way he stopped at a place where something interesting happened. Just pause there for a second. Let's go back to Mecca. In Mecca, Tufail bin Uday went to his tribesmen and he said to them, carry your arms. So they did, and this is a very powerful tribe, Khuza'a. And historically they had massive issues, as I said, with Quraysh. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, if there was anyone to protect me from Quraysh, it is them. So he said, now they were mushrik, they're not Muslim, but they had that nakhwa, they had that chivalry, if you like, that said that if a person sought protection from us and we offered him that protection, we will uphold that protection. He said, Tufail said to his kingsmen and folks, he said to them, carry your weapons. So they did, come with me to the Kaaba. And so they did. So they were a huge number, carrying their armor. And then he proclaimed openly, I have given protection to Mohamad Abdalla sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyone who touches him or harms him, his fight is with me. That did it. And Rasulullah sallallahu therefore was aware that now he was given protection, and so he could go back to Mecca. On his way to Mecca, he stopped for a rest under a tree. A place today, they call it Mahbas al-Jinn, the place where the jinn were collected. And he stood up, alayhi salatu was salam, to make salah. Qiyamul Layl. And he was reading the Quran aloud, Quran. As he was reading the Quran, 7 of the jinn from a certain tribe of the jinn heard the Quran. And they came to him, alayhi salatu was salam. And at the time, until certain revelations came when this stopped happening, the jinn used to come out in the form of men or women. That doesn't happen anymore. If they do come out, they may come out in the form of animals or so forth, because anyone who claims they have actually seen a jinn in their real form is a liar. The jinn will never appear in their real form, but they may appear as shadows or as certain animals. But they don't come out as humans anymore. They used to. And so those 7 jinn came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and listened and asked Rasulullah. They said, "Inna sami'na Qur'anan ajaba." They said, we have heard an amazing recital, because that's the word for Quran, recitation or recital, one of the definitions of Quran. They heard, Inna sami'na Qur'anan ajaba. We heard an amazing Quran. What is this that you are reading? So he sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave them da'wah, and the 7 of them accepted Islam. Because the jinn, like the humans, na'udhu billah min al-jinn, طبعا لا بدنا إياهم ولا يقربوا علينا ولا نقرب عليهم, صح؟ خلينا بعاد عنهم كلهم بعاد عنا حبيبي. بس يعني we don't want what's the saying in Arabic, we أعوذ بالله من الجن, we don't want them near us and we don't want them. But they are the jinn, my brothers and sisters, أعوذ بالله من الجن, are an unseen creation. The word jinn means unseen. That's why the word Jannah also comes from the same root word as Jinn, which means unseen. So the Jannah is unseen and jinn is unseen, but they both are creation. There are so many differences, of course, between the humans and the jinn in terms of their essence and form and nature, etc. But what unites them both is the free will that they have been given by Allah Ta'ala. The capacity to choose right from wrong, and free will to believe or to disbelieve. And that's why they will be taken into account just as humans would be. Of course, the jinn when they become believers, they are good jinn, and when they disbelieve, they become shayateen. Right? And most people, when they hear jinn, they get scared and frightened, but you shouldn't be, because they have no power over people. All they can do is whisper, right? All they can do is try to. The name of shaitan is al-gharoor, the deluder, the deceiver, right? And what most people forget is that we are surrounded more by many more malaika than we are by the shayateen or the jinn. And Allah Ta'ala has specifically placed with each one of us literally tens of malaika, not just the two. Some ulama say you have up to 26 angels with you, protecting you from so many things that could go wrong, but Allah Ta'ala sends them there to protect you. But because we don't talk about that often, we have unfortunately instilled the fear of the jinn in the hearts of people, and we should be mindful about that. And so when they become Muslim, as they did, now Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tells them, فَقَالْ وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَى قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. يعني أسلموا ثم ذهبوا صاروا دعاء، صار الجن دعاء. قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى، لأنهم عارفين موسى، مصدقا لما بين يديه يهدي إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم. Amazing. Now, of course, if Allah Ta'ala did not tell us about this, and Rasulullah did not tell, because when he went back to Mecca, that's the first thing he told them. Allah Ta'ala says, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ. O Muhammad, he's addressing Muhammad ﷺ, when we had sent to you a group of the jinn. فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوا, when they came to your presence, قَالُوا انصِتُوا. The jinn, when they heard Rasulullah read Quran, they said to each other, quiet, listen. When he ﷺ finished reading the Quran, and then they came to him to meet him, and he gave them da'wah, and they accepted Islam, فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. When that event finished, and they had accepted Islam, Allah tells us they went back to their people. The jinn went to their own tribes. Mundhirin, warners. Da'i. They went to invite to Allah Ta'ala. What did they say to their people? The jinn. قالوا يا قومنا, O my people, يا قومنا, إنا سمعنا كتابا. We heard, tonight we heard a recitation from a book. أنزل من بعد موسى, which was revealed after Musa. مصدقا لما بين يديه, but it tells and it testifies to the truthfulness of what Musa brought. يهدي إلى الحق, it guides to the truth. وإلى طريق مستقيم, and it guides to a straight path. Comprehensive da'wah. Now, equally, just like humans may accept the da'wah or may reject it, the jinn equally may accept it or may reject it. And of course, then Allah Ta'ala, before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam arrived at Mecca, He had revealed the entire surah of jinn, which if you would, you can go and read it, where it is a massive dialogue between Rasulullah Sallallahu and the jinn, and Allah Ta'ala tells us about their nature and so forth. What the ulama say from this, one of the things, of course, the jinn asked for before departing, he said, أتاني داعي الجن فذهبت معه فقرأت عليهم القرآن. Then another group of jinn came to Rasulullah and invited him to go with them to invite their people to Allah Ta'ala. And this happened also later on in another incident. And the Sahaba said when they were outing with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he disappeared one night. He went out and they couldn't find him and they were freaking out. What happened to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And what had happened is that a representative from the jinn came and asked Rasulullah to go and give da'wah to their tribe, which he did. And then he came and told them that Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. وَسَأَلُوهُ الزَّادِ The jinn at that time asked Rasulullah for provision. What should be their food? قال لكم كل عظم ذكر اسم الله عليه يقع في أيديكم. Any bone which had the name of Allah mentioned on it, يعني halal slaughter and then the bone, and if it is left, that is your food. And that's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam forbade us from, if a person needs to go to the call of nature outside, if there is no bathrooms, then you never urinate in the burrow or the hole of animals or on bones, because that is their food. From this, the ulama said that was a great fatih actually for Rasulullah sallam. Yes, the people of Taif did not respond, but Addas did, and the jinn did. Again, it's testimony to the fact that all you have to do as a da'i is invite to Allah with ikhlas and sincerity, and be steadfast on what you do, and don't think of the outcome, because the outcome is only in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. You may give da'wah to a certain people or a certain person, and he or she may refuse it, but because of your effort, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala may give this hidayah to somebody else unknown to you. That's why the ulama say something beautiful. They say, when making effort for Allah Ta'ala, it is entirely different to making effort for people. When you make effort sincerely for Allah Ta'ala, all He asks of you and all He expects of you is the effort with ikhlas, but He does not expect the outcome, because He is the one who allows the outcome. But if I work for you, you expect from me what? The effort and the outcome. You expect the effort and the outcome. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is teaching us that you make the effort of da'wah ila Allah, be mukhlis, be sincere, and leave the outcome to Allah Ta'ala. You just never know whom Allah Ta'ala will give hidayah to. You just never know. You could spend, and as we should, spend sometimes years with a colleague at work, being gentle with them and nice to them and being hospitable and making lots of dua for them, as we should, with the intention that Allah gives them hidayah. And they may never get that hidayah, but that other colleague who was sitting on the other desk and just watching and seeing your interaction, you've never spoken to him or her, you've never entertained them, but they just are watching, and then Allah might give them the hidayah. You just never know. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. Allah said to His Rasul, you don't give hidayah to those whom you love. You don't give hidayah to those whom you love. Right? Allah gives hidayah to whomsoever He wants. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. Right? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went back to Mecca, and of course he was given that protection. And the first thing he did was told his Sahaba of what had happened in Taif, but then the story of Addas and the imaan and the Islam of the jinn. And ulama comment on this, and they say, as I said earlier, Allah Ta'ala is showing Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that victory, nasr, and Allah's help can come in ways that you don't expect. All you have to do, as Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Whosoever has taqwa of Allah, Allah will make for him or her an exit out of every difficulty. When, where, how is up to him, but it's there. and Allah will sustain them from where they don't know. I knew of a sheikh back in overseas. We used to sit sometimes and listen to him. He had a very, deep voice. They call him Sheikh Mustaqim straight, right? And I haven't seen myself, but I heard it from many people. They say he would give da'wah to the jinn. He said sometimes he would be giving bayans, and there's nobody else sitting there. But he knows that it is the jinn who are there, and he's giving them bayan, and he's giving them da'wah. Right? They are there. And if you uphold the command of Allah Ta'ala and the sunnah of His Rasul in everything that we do, that is a protection from them. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when you enter your house, if you say Bismillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, or many other Bismillahi walajna, wa Bismillahi kharajna, wa ala rabbina tawakkalna, the minute you do that when you enter the house, shaitan says to the other shayateen, get out of the house, there is no bed and no breakfast for you. La mabita wa la mashrab. There is no food and there is no sleep for you in this house. Sunnah, very simple but powerful. Whosoever, when they leave their house, Rasulullah says, when you leave your house, if you make this dua, Bismillahi, tawakkaltu ala Allah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He says there is an angel and there is a shaitan outside. If you make this dua, the malak says to you, the angel says to you, and wuqita, wa kufita, wa hudita, wa tanaha anhu shaitan. You are guided, you are protected, and shaitan goes away from him. But if a person leaves his house, doesn't do this sunnah, shaitan بيركب آخر النهار. تترجم هذه حبيبي في الإنجليزي. Shaitan will be with him the whole day. بيركب ترجم هذه كيف يركب حلو يعني he will be with him the whole day. I just use a very slang word in Arabic. I'm asking them to translate it. How do you translate that slang? Anyway, we managed. Right? When you take your clothes off, you say Bismillah. Allah Ta'ala conceals your awrat from them. When you enter the toilet, you make that dua before you enter the toilet. Allah conceals your awra. Allah does not allow them to see your awra. Because Allah Ta'ala says to us in the Quran, they see you from where you don't see them. And so by following the sunnah of Rasulullah, you gain that protection. If you eat and you don't say Bismillah, they eat with you. Shaitan eats with you. And if you say Bismillah, they will not eat with you. We know this. This is true. And what these stories tell us in the ayat of the Quran is that this world of the jinn is true. There are some Muslims who try to deny that. And they say, well, science, if we don't see it and we don't touch it, then it doesn't exist. And had we not been told by Allah Ta'ala in the Quran and by Rasulullah, we would find it difficult to believe. But we are told of ilm al-ghayb, the knowledge of the unseen. And so we say, Sami'na wa ata'na, we listen and obey. And He, alayhi salatu salam, out of concern for us, taught us those sunan that if you are to do, will protect you. 100%. So, everybody should, if you haven't done already, learn these sunnahs. When you enter the house, when you leave the house, and you put your clothes on, you take your clothes off, when you eat, when you get into the shower, even when you look at them in the mirror, there is a dua. Beautiful. Even when you look in the mirror, there is a dua. And if you can't remember the dua, write it on the mirror. I mean, don't just write, just put it on a paper and stick it on. That's what I mean. Right? Otherwise your wife will kill you. So that's what we do. The other thing, of course, and just to finish off, Allah Ta'ala was in giving this victory, this nasr, this support to Rasulullah of the unseen world. The support and the help and the alliance did not come from the world of humans, the ta'if. Allah Ta'ala in this case gave it to him from the world of the unseen, as if He is saying to him, and as if He is saying to us, What is going to come next is even much bigger and much more unbelievable. Had we not been told about it by Allah and His Rasul, it's impossible to believe. But the gift that Allah Ta'ala gives Rasulullah next is completely out of this world and demonstrates the majesty and the greatness of Allah, but also the esteem and the status of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But that is to be continued next. Brother Sulaiman, Brother Sulaiman, next week inshallah ta'ala. You know, suspense, we have to have some suspense, brother. Da 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 da, you know, da 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 da. What's coming soon? No, brother, look at the time. 8:04. No, it's good. Now? No, this is enough for now. You know, it's like everybody's like, okay, now we stop. So, to be continued, inshallah. Just before you go, we are starting from this Sunday in this masjid at 9 a.m., Sunday 9 a.m. Don't ask why we choose that time. That was after a lot of discussion, right? From 9 a.m., it's only 1 hour, so that you can, if you'd like to join us, do so, and then you have the rest of the day. And this is for brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters. It's called Applied Islam. That is, it's 1 hour, but it possibly could go for a year or 2 years. And there are different modules or different. So the first, we're going to be looking in depth, for example, at the history of Islamic civilization. So now we're doing the Seera, but from these Applied Islam, we're looking after the Seera. So when the Islamic civilization began to expand, what happened? And then how did they react to other cultures and civilizations and etc. And then we are going to, and then look at the contributions that the Islamic civilization made to the world and humanity. And it's very important, especially for young brothers and sisters who don't know their history, or anyone who doesn't know the history of Islamic civilization. Very important, because we often feel, or people keep telling us that the West with its brilliance came out of nothing. It just happened. That is nonsense. There would be no Western civilization, or there would be no West today or Europe without Islam. And that's what I'll be showing you. And then we would have a module on Sharia and Fiqh. What is Sharia? What are the sources of Sharia? What is the Fiqh? What's the difference? How do the ulama derive laws? How do we know what's halal and what's haram? And why is it halal? Why is it haram? We talk about that. And there'll be something on identity, especially for, and these classes for anyone, you know, literally 16 or 17 plus, really. Brothers and sisters, and there'll be a whole module on the purification of the heart, and there'll be other contemporary issues. So starting this Sunday, 9 to 10, free of charge, brothers and sisters, join us, inshallah ta'ala, and hopefully there'll be benefit from it, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu